Hello lovelies, how are you all doing today? I hope you are well. I'm okay. Got a little bit of a scratchy throat going on. So I popped out yesterday and bought myself some strepsils. Oh, it's like instant. It's like someone's just stroking, isn't it? Oh my goodness. I hadn't had strepsils for years until, was it last winter? I think it was, and I had some. It's like, oh, it's just instantly soothing. Anyway, otherwise, I'm perfectly fine. The weather is perfectly not fine. So I'm catching up on things indoors again today. And I thought, I'm probably going to have quite a few swigs today. I apologise. It really is quite scratchy. So yes, busy. Let's have a sit for half an hour and a chat, and then I can get busy again. And I thought that, so, oh my goodness, itchy schnozzle. I've got a basket that's sitting over there next to the sofa. It's normally over here, so I can't show it to you. I don't know why it's over there. The mice have moved it. I don't have mice. I'm thinking hunka munka. Yeah, and every now and again something occurs to me and I scribble it on a note and I put it in the basket. It's like my basket of chat. So yeah, random notes, random bits of paper. So I thought we'll just fish out some of the random basket notes to talk about today. I was going to say this, I'm going to talk about this first. So I had a parcel arrive a couple of days ago. Thank you very much. This has come from the person who bought me the Sproutlands book, all about about so much more than just besides pollarding and coppicing, which was, oh my goodness, a sublime read. And she sent me this, or he, it's actually, I do apologise, it's a kind of non-gender specific name. Let me know. They have sent me a copy of a book called Spring Rain by Mark Hamer. It's only recently published. Where are we? 2023. It's out this year. I think this is going to be lovely. You get a pithy little quote. They put it on the book jacket. It says, "It is rare to encounter such respect and understanding of nature. A wise, life-affirming memoir about how gardens can help us heal." I'll go into more detail when I've read it, but I think that is going to be right up my alley. Or should I say right up my garden path. Thank you, lovely. I've got such a lovely stack of books to read. I was getting low, as it were. My version of low. Last winter, I think I had about 50 books on my shelf unread. And I think I said at the time, that's fine, that'll keep me going for the year. And I got down to about 10 books unread. Bearing in mind, I've had books given to me, books lent to me by friends, books arriving in the post. So that 50 probably got bumped up to more like 70. Anyway, I was down to about 10. But now, oh, I can't reach them, there's a little tranche. Now I've got probably about another 8 to add to that. So yeah, that'll keep me going for the winter. Yay! Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I can't wait actually to tuck in. Now, back to the previous video, and I said I bumped into friends of mine when I was out promenading our high street to just, enjoy the Christmassy lights, shop windows, just enjoy being out in my hood. And yeah, I bumped into so many friends. It was really lovely. But this particular friend, I've mentioned a couple of times throughout the last, well, going back to last October, year before, so around about October 2022, she lives, at the moment she lives, well, she had been living with her sister on the same road as me. They're just down the road a ways. I know them because they also have a plot, so we made friends on the plot, and then it's like, oh, and we live on the same street, yay! And then one of the sisters wanted to move out. She got pregnant, and her boyfriend wanted their own flat, so they started flat hunting around about October 2022. And that's when I was first dipping my toe into checking out what's available in this neighbourhood. The plan had been, I was hoping, as you all know by now, it didn't happen, but I was hoping by March, April of this year to get my flat on the market and to get a wriggle on. But look, this year went completely topsy-turvy, and the house move, it all got put on hold. Don't care about moving house. All I cared about was my sister and being with my sister. Anyway, so these friends of mine, so what was interesting, so at the time, we were chatting about it and realising we were both looking for very similar things, in so much as they particularly wanted a ground floor flat too. Obviously when you've got a new baby, pushchair, all of that stuff, it's so much easier if you live on the ground floor rather than having to carry the pram up all the stairs and what have you. Anyway, so at the time we were sort of joking, like, well, we'll look out for each other. And in fact, I did see a flat which I thought was suitable for them, not quite for me. They went to have a look, and actually the description the estate agents had given, it wasn't quite a lie, but it was as close to a lie as you can get without someone taking umbrage with the estate agents. Anyway, the point was that we were looking for similar. Their budget was about 25-30% higher than mine, so quite a chunk of difference. So they were looking for a 2-bed flat, and I knew that I would be only looking for a 1-bed flat. I'd love 2 beds because I'd like a room that's separate where I can do all my work, whether it's sewing, whether it's the shop stuff, and have a little guest room as well. But I know that it's just not possible around here. So off we all go, we start to look. And look out for each other as well. And quite quickly they found somewhere pretty perfect actually, and quite near the allotment. I was like, as it was in terms of the price, it would have been my absolute max of my budget, absolute max, and there wouldn't have been a penny, not a single penny left over for furnishing. So there wouldn't have been a penny left over for buying a fridge, a freezer, a cooker, a washing machine, etc, etc. Because don't forget, mine are all integrated appliances. I won't be taking them with me. So it would have been, anyway, so they put their offer in. It was all going through. I'm going to just rattle through all this now. That flat, for whatever reason, it fell through. Then they quickly found somewhere else, also near the plot, and it's a flat I'd kind of had my eye on for ages. But it was even more expensive than the previous one they'd looked at. They were really being pushed with their budget. And so as soon as I heard the price, I was like, well, I'm glad it's so far out of my budget that it's not even worth looking at. Now, they agreed the price. Everything was agreed back in April. It's just fallen through. There was a major problem with it. I won't go into the details, but it's more just to say, folk keep saying to me, why haven't you moved yet? You need to move, just nagging me to move. And it's like, it's not that simple. You know, if I was a renter, yeah, I could just hand my notice in, and then a month later be in a new place. Finding somewhere, as has been shown. So they've now, the latest is they've now looked at another place. It's miles away, miles and miles. It's right out of London. So, you know, they're making the most of it. They're saying, well, you know, they're putting a positive spin on it. Good for them. But they're right back at the beginning process again. They've seen this place. They've put in their offer. Their offer has been accepted. And again, it could be months and months and months till they actually get in. And until you've done the exchange of contracts, that could go wrong too. And I'm not saying this is like to scare anyone else who's moving, and yet some people will be really lucky. They'll see somewhere they like, put their place on the market, the first person who walks through the door will buy their flat, that place that they want, and it's all done and dusted in, you know, a couple of months. But that's rare. So yeah, so for anyone who's getting annoyed with me for not moving, I would just say, don't get annoyed with me. You know, it's my life. I have to do it in the way that I have to do it. It's not as easy as some people make out. I'm not going to move just for the sake of it. I have to find the right property. Obviously, I'm still waiting on this lease extension business. It will happen. It'll happen next year. Oh, I really hope it happens. But like I said, if I can't find the right sort of property to move into, I'm not going to move for a while. I will hold off. Anyway, yeah, it was really good to catch up with them. I was sorry to hear that they've had so many problems, especially with the one that's just fallen through, because it's so close and it's a flat I walk past every time I go to the allotment. So it would have been that perfect place to just drop in and say, hey, let's have a cup of tea. Let me play with the baby. Yeah, the baby's fine. The baby's big. The baby's nearly a year old now. Goodness me, time flies. Yeah, it was lovely to see them and to catch up, but it was a bit sort of like, oh God. You know, we know there are these horror stories in terms of house moves. Getting this place and my previous two places were quite plain sailing, quite smooth. I mean, they took months, but all the stages were quite smooth. I hope I haven't worn out my luck, but we'll see. Anyway, I'm going to set all that aside now. That's for next year. Blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. I've got things to get on with here. Talking about things to get on with. This job has been so long overdue, my goodness. One evening this week, a few evenings ago, I finally got around to sorting out my photograph albums. Oh, I bet there's a ton of you right now going, oh yeah, I need to do mine too. It's not, you don't need to. But actually, I would say I do need to, because of my work. It's so visual, whether it's a picture for Facebook or for Instagram, even say for a thumbnail for my videos. All of my thumbnails, right from the get-go, right from, oh my goodness, it's coming up 7 years, crikey. But all of my thumbnails have all been an image taken by me of my own stuff, my own life, you know. So there's a channel which keeps popping up on my sidebar, excuse me. It's kind of like one of those channels that's all sort of like, oh, homemakey, I'm a homemaker, and look how lovely and zen my life is. And the cover art is always stock imagery. So stock imagery of nice pebbles and a candle and oh, serene. But then when you look at this person's videos, it's mess and chaos and clutter and it's the least zen you could possibly imagine. Anyway, so the point is, my work is very visual, and occasionally I want to refer back to, you know, like say with the gardening. Actually, my garden photos are organised. I have a new folder for each new year in the garden, and within it I label my photos with the month they were taken in. So, which is kind of useful actually, because then I can look back and think, in my memory, I might think, oh, my tomatoes, I was harvesting tomatoes in the middle of July, I can look at the photos and see, actually it was the end of July. I was starting to harvest my tomatoes. So having the photos organised is useful from that point of view of thinking about the garden, planning things, what to expect, that sort of thing. But everything else, literally everything else, was just dumped in one folder. So it might be something to do with cooking, a recipe I've done. It might be to do with any of all the different crafting I do. So calendula, making calendula oil and balm and all those processes. The lavender, the processing of the lavender, never mind the actual lavender bags, all different pictures of the different stages of the lavender bags. Bunting, fabrics, it was all in there. Shots from, over the time I've taken quite a few shots from the window of the weather, basically, you know, sometimes like gorgeous, that sort of lovely light at 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening in the summer, where everything looks like it's dripping with honey because it's so golden, and then that hard, harsh light in winter, snow on the roof, fog, it was all in together. And every time I wanted to use one of those photos to either compare or to put onto Instagram, whatever it is, I just have to trawl through hundreds and hundreds of photos. Anyway, sorted, yay! Kind of, what I've done is I've set up for 2024, I've thought ahead and I've set up different folders. When I say photo albums, I'm talking about on the computer, of course. Photos, like physical photos, actual, haven't got any around, you know what I mean, physical photos. They're all in a little memory box, they're all in order. But yeah, so for next year I've already set up different folders for home stuff, DIY, the flat, doing stuff up. There's a folder for weather and nature, there's a folder for crafting, there's a folder for books, anyway, and on and on and on it goes. So it was a really lovely job to do, actually. It's one of those that it did take time. I was probably at it for about 3 hours. But like I said, it was the evening. I probably started about 9 o'clock in the evening, so it's not eating into my working day. Put some music on, just lost in that world and going through all the photos and thinking, and remembering, having that like, oh gosh, I forgot I did that. You know, there were photos of, you know, the little handmade seed packets, all sorts. There was all sorts in there. And it was like opening up a little box of treasures again. So yeah, it's nice to get them, all of the ones to this date, they are sorted into categories, but they're not sorted by the years, because that would have been too much to sort out. But going forward from now, they will be in individual years, exactly as I've done all my kitchen garden pictures. They're all within the years. So yeah, that was a happy leads into this next thing, actually, by my random bits from the basket. The basket of chat. Yeah, it was a very pleasant thing to do on a really grotty evening. Just get my quilt around me, sit there on the computer, remembering lovely things. It's the kind of evening that you might describe as being nice. So I was thinking about this word the other day because it came up on something. I haven't got a clue. I've got a clue what it came up on. And oh my goodness, it just reminded, I was taken straight back to childhood. And not just being a little kid, right until, you know, my teen years. I was always reprimanded for using the word nice. Reprimanded by my mother, reprimanded by teachers and other adults. If I used the word nice, I was always told, oh, you can find a better word than that. Come on, you've got a better vocabulary than that. Use other words. Nice is a terrible word. It's a rubbish word. It's nice is the word people use when they haven't got a vocabulary. Weird. Did any of you have that? Were you brought up being told that nice was almost like a non-word that you would only use because you don't have any vocabulary? I don't know what that obsession was, but it was literally all adults would tell me off if I said the word nice. And I like the word nice. Nice is a nice word. It's, to me, it suggests something that's quietly, simply pleasant. It isn't fireworks and fabulousness, nor is it terrible and miserable. It's just quietly pleasant. And I think as a word, it's the perfect word on occasions. If someone said to me, oh, how was your session in the garden yesterday? I think it would be perfectly acceptable to say, oh, it was such a nice session. Such a nice session, because nothing spectacular happened. I didn't do any harvesting. It's like, let's say it's the beginning of July. There's nothing ready to harvest yet. But likewise, there's been no damage by slugs. And the work was easy, or my work was sitting down tying tomatoes in, for example. So nothing bad happened, but nothing majorly exciting happened, like the first harvest of a tomato. In other words, it was just nice. So yeah, that's a weird one to me. And I am interested to know, genuinely interested to know if other people experienced that when they were younger. Is it a generational thing, maybe? Our parents' generation, were they harangued for using the word nice? Put it this way, I have no issue with that word. I think maybe with children, or not so much children, but young people, I think if that was the only word they were ever using to describe something, yes, I would encourage my child, young person, whatever, to explore other words and to enrich their vocabulary and try to extend their vocabulary, of course. But if, as a young person as I was using all sorts of different descriptive words, let me use nice once in a while. It's weird. It's just weird to me. Right, what else is in the basket of random chat? Oh my God. So the other day, do you remember the other day I was talking about adverts? This is also an advert thing, but this is a whinge about something totally different. This is about models. So there's been a series of adverts by, I've written it down, Florence and Fred. Florence and Fred, it's a brand of clothing that comes from Tesco's supermarket. So for those outside the UK, most of our supermarkets do a range of clothing that's really quite cheaper. It's very competitively priced. Yeah, so you can go to the supermarket and pick up. So, for instance, my pyjamas, remember when I did my hug video, my lovely flannel pyjamas, they are by TU, which is Sainsbury's, the supermarket. That's from their clothing range. And they tend to be quite a bit cheaper than the main clothes shops on the high street. Anyway, so Florence and Fred at Tesco's. So they've got tons of ads at the moment. Sorry, excuse me. And a lot of it so this has been going on for weeks, and I noticed it, and now I can't not notice it. So a few weeks ago we started in with the autumnal wear. So really lovely jumpers, woolies, coats, where there's some boots. And as the weeks have gone by, we're now getting into the party wear. So, you know, the sequiny frocks for your Christmas party, all that kind of thing. And all the adverts have 2 or 3 women in, models, in a setting like, oh, they're at a country house and they're in the garden. So this was when they were demonstrating the woolly jumpers for autumn. Or they'll be in a party and they'll be lounging in a sort of glamorous sofa, chatting, drinking, laughing. So pretty much all the adverts start with these 2 or 3 women. They're chatting together, they're laughing about something or other, whatever. And then on cue, they all turn. So it's like we're looking at them in their private moment. Chat, 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 chat. And then on cue, they all turn and look directly down the lens. But as they go, chat, 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 happy, happy, laughing as they turn, they go sour. I can't do it. They all have this proper Mardy face on the lot of them. La 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 la. Total Mardiness. Is that that might be a northern word? They look a combination of grumpy, angry, aggressive, utterly fed up and ticked off about something or other, and I just don't understand it. Why can't they turn to camera and smile like, yay, I'm in this lovely party frock and I'm with my friends? But no, for my UK friends, some of you will have noticed it already, I'm sure, anyway. But next time you see a Florence and Fred advert, look to see how the models' faces change. They go from laughter, chat, 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 enjoying themselves, look at camera, and suddenly they're all angry, Mardy about something. Why do they do it? And I'm not having a go at the models, because I think it's the same in still photography for adverts, you know, whether it's perfume or skin cream or a holiday or clothing, whatever it is. There's this kind of look, isn't there, of like disinterest sometimes, like or anger, or I don't know, I just think it's really rare to see an ad campaign where the model is really smiling, happy. Why do they do it? And like I say, it's not the models. I mean, for all I know, all those models may be grumpy old farts, but chances are they are, you know, normal, happy people like me. And it's the ad campaign director or, you know, the photographer is asking for that. I don't know why. I don't understand why ad campaigns have to show models looking proper Mardy faced. Like I said, you'll notice it now. I think it's that Florence and Fred campaign, and there's all sorts of different adverts in it. I think it's particularly noticeable with them because the scene, as it were, changes, and that they go, like if you see a still shot of someone modelling a coat and they're kind of going whatever, maybe it doesn't register. But when it's a moving advert, when it's a film advert, and you see them going from laughter and happiness and having fun to now I'm posing, now I'm angry, it just makes it really obvious and stark. Anyway, right, last thing just before I go, on really happy note, I think by the time you see this video, it will have finished airing on Earth TV, but you can watch it on computer TV, which is where I've only seen the first part, but again, sorry, this is a bit UK centric. I do apologise to friends overseas. And I did check on the hub and it did say currently unavailable outside the UK. I apologise. It's a series. It's on all week, every night for a week. I think the programmes are live, but they also have little filmed segments slotted in called Winter on the Farm. And I think I spoke about it back in the autumn when we had the week-long Autumn on the Farm. So it's a farm in South Yorkshire. We have two presenters, a female and a male presenter, And at certain points during the year, they go and we have a week on this particular farm. So we get to know the farmers. There's two brothers who are the farmers. So we see springtime on the farm, summer on the farm, autumn on the farm, and now we're into winter on the farm. And it's a lovely show. We watch for the week, and what's lovely about having it on every night for a week is, especially say in spring, for the spring one, and they have a range of all sorts of different livestock, you know, the usual suspect of sheep, goats, they're doing llamas, and I think they're about to try and get some alpacas. But because it's on every night, if they're waiting on one particular birth, hopefully over the course of the week we get to see it. They had one of their heavy horses was in foal, but she didn't foal on camera, never mind. It's a really lovely, cosy little program. That sounds really patronising. So it's a really lovely, cosy program. I think it's on at 8:00 in the evening if you're watching it on Earth Telly for an hour, or obviously it's available on the Hub anytime you want to watch it. It's on the My5 Hub. I just think it's lovely family primetime TV viewing. Anyone who's even mildly interested in farming. Now, it is quite a glossy, fluffy, cosy view of farming, it has to be said. They do deal with some of the more difficult stuff. You know, if there's a death, they will talk, you know, amongst the animals, they will talk about it. They don't, it's not completely sugar-coated, but it just feels like such happy, pleasant viewing. The other day, sorry, my mind went completely elsewhere then. They've got, by accident, they've got quite a lot of kids have been born, goat kids have been born. It's the wrong time of year for them to be having, but apparently the billy got out of his area and got in with all the nannies and went and had a party, and the party has resulted in all these gorgeous goat kids. Have got to be just about my favourite baby animal on the planet. I love goats, full stop. I just think they're hilarious. Goat kids, gorgeous. And then, so last night they were bottle feeding a couple of them that are where they've been rejected by the mother for whatever reason. And I just whooshed back in my memory to my aunt, my mum's sister, not Teapot, next generation down, my mum's sister. My aunt had goats. And oh my goodness, I loved feeding the kids. I've got this fab picture of me. I've got 2 bottles and 2 kids. And you can just see, I'm not giddy happy like, yee, but you can just see this picture of, I'm just quietly really, really happy just there with the kids. Yeah, happy place. So it was lovely to see all these kids on the farm, even though it's the wrong time of year for them. But what I really liked in that first episode, which is why I wanted to mention it at all, is, I've just got to remember his name, Jules Hodson. Jules Hodson is one of the presenters. And it's really quite touching, actually. So one of the little sort of pre-filmed bits that they started in last night was talking about nature, mental health, being in nature, and how being in nature can really help our mental health. And he was talking about Shirin-yoku, which is the Japanese art of forest bathing, going into the forest. And he was talking, you know, he's proper, you know, Englishman, stiff upper lip and all that sort of thing. But he talked about, you know, he's had a tough year, and he got quite emotional when they cut back to being live. You could see that emotion was, oh gosh, it was about to, you know, burst forth. But yeah, he was just that sort of reminder of how when life's getting a bit much, that taking some time out and being in nature, in the woods, in a forest. For me, it was being by the sea, walking near a river. It can help just a bit, you know. Look, going for a walk in the woods isn't going to solve one's problems necessarily, but it might just lift one's mood just enough to be able to help one cope with whatever life is throwing at you. So like, you know, say with me with my garden, going to the garden, you know, especially in sort of May and June, no, going to the garden didn't make my sister get better, of course not. But it was a wonderful place for me to go to let go of some of that pent-up emotion. Yeah, it's that be in nature to just let some of it go. Not to actually solve the problem, but to just let go of some of that excess emotion, whether it's anger, whether it's fear, whether it's sadness. Share it with the trees. And what I particularly loved, I feel a bit emotional now, what I particularly loved, and I thought, yes, bearing in mind what I talked about when I was talking about the book Sproutlands, back to that book again, it's haunting me in the best possible way. When he was in the woods, he was walking through and chatting, and then suddenly he went, oh, look, and he went with his hands out like this and put his hands to the bark, and he said, a redwood. He was drawn to a redwood, just as I was when I mentioned seeing that redwood at Kew. He said, you just want to touch it and be with it. And and I just had this whoop, zip, zip, zip of connection with him and me and the tree through the screen. So yeah, it was just a little piece, but I'm really glad they included it because, and they talked about this afterwards, how, you know, with the two farmers, I was going to call them lads. They're not lads, they're men, they're grown men. They're all in their probably 50s by now. But how, you know, it's quite a tough world. It's, you know, this tough, strong man world. But we all experience emotion, and sometimes those emotions are too much and they need somewhere to go. So how about taking them for a walk in the woods and, oh, my belly just rumbled. Yeah, letting them go somewhere outside, as I did in my garden. Goodness knows what the plants thought. I told them what was going on. I talked to the plants all the time. I said, don't worry. You know, I'd have a little cry and I'd say, don't worry, I'm fine. I'm just crying about my sister. So yeah, a really, really positive thing. You can find it on the Channel 5 hub. And the other thing as well, all week, the two farmer brothers, they've gone off to a hill farm in the Swiss Alps to see what hill farming is like in the Swiss Alps. And oh my goodness, that scenery is breathtaking. So yeah, well worth a watch. It's an hour long each time, but obviously with the adverts you get up and do something else. There's 5 episodes. If you're looking for something cosy, uplifting, and with the Swiss stuff, or inspiring with the landscape, highly recommend it. Winter on the Farm. Right, it's starting to feel wintry here. I need to get up and move around, get my limbs moving, move that blood around. Fortunately, it's not quite as cold at the moment because the temperatures have all come up ever so slightly, and our nighttime temperatures are hovering above freezing at the moment. So yay, thank goodness for that. But I do need to get up and move around. So I'm going to say, look after yourselves. Look after each other. Look after this with a bit of time outside in nature if you can. Whatever you get up to, have fun doing it and love those around you, including the trees. Cheerio.